Hey everyone. Welcome back to Strange Minds 6. I'm your host Ruby, and today we're going to be reading more of Creepers, the Gravedigger by Edgar J. Hyde. But before we begin, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It would mean a great deal to me if you did. And without further ado, my dear friends, grab a snack, grab a drink, or simply sit back and relax. And let's get to it. Chapter 9 Strange Breakfast. The sizzle of the smell of sausage and veggie burgers filled the kitchen. This morning, it was Jamie's turn to cook breakfast, and one by one, his guests began to arrive. First was his father. No one liked a home-cooked breakfast more than his father. He said as he took his seat at the table. Smells great, Jamie. Paula walked in at the same time as Lex Killian. Good morning, Lex, she said as she breezed past him into the kitchen. Lex tried to answer her, but as usual only succeeded in spitting salt water on the floor. Has anyone seen that horrible Ebenezer Crim chap recently? Asked Lex as he pulled out his chair. Jamie thinks he saw him a couple of times yesterday, Andrew replied. I did see him, Jamie said, still turning the sausages in the frying pan. You saw who? Asked Mummy as he glided through the back door and onto his chair. Ebenezer Crim, answered Paula. Oh, I wouldn't mind if I never saw him for another 2,000 years, Mummy muttered through his bandages. Count Vanya joined them in the kitchen. Breakfast smells good this morning, Jamie, he said, before taking his seat at the table. It'll be ready in a few minutes, replied Jamie. We were chased home from school yesterday by Ebenezer Crim, Paula announced to the table. What? Replied Count Vanya. He chased you home? Now, Paula, we discussed this last night. We don't know for sure if it was Ebenezer Crim that you saw following you, said her father. It was him, said Jamie adamantly. Last to join the breakfast group was Wolfie. He slipped in quietly and sat down at the table without saying anything, which was unusual for him, because he normally had a lot to say even first thing in the morning. Jamie walked toward the table with a plate that was piled high with rolls, sausages, and veggie burgers made especially for Wolfie. Dig in, everyone. What's wrong, Wolfie? You look a bit down, said Lex Killian. I'm just a little fed up, replied Wolfie. With what? Asked Andrew. With everything, he said. This new house, Ebenezer Crim trying to catch us with everything? Don't let it get you down, Wolfie, said Count Vanya. You'll get used to it eventually. Andrew looked confused. Yesterday he had this same conversation with Count Vanya, and now he was acting totally different. You've really changed your mind? Said to the Count. Andrew said to the Count, Now the Count looked confused. "What do you mean?" asked the Count. "Well, I thought you wanted to move somewhere else like Wolfie." The Count looked at Andrew. "When did I say that?" he asked, looking even more confused. "Can I have one of those sausages, please?" shouted Wolfie, far louder than he needed to shout. It was as though he was trying to change the subject. "Oh, of course you can. You don't need to ask. You know that," Paula replied. Jamie looked at Wolfie suspiciously. He knew that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Wolfie stretched out and lifted the sausage off the plate from Paula. Without thinking, he bit into it and began chewing. "Wolfie!" Mummy yelled. "What?" he replied. "That's a sausage you're eating." "So what?" "So it's not a veggie burger," replied Mummy, "and you're a vegetarian." Wolfie looked around the table at everyone. Everyone looked back at Wolfie. Jamie knew that something didn't add up, but before he could question it, Wolfie got up from the table and ran screaming out the door, yelling, "I think I'm gonna be sick." Everyone except Jamie laughed at Wolfie's mistake. "Something's going on here," he said to the others at the table. "Yeah," replied Paula, laughing. "He just ate half a sausage and now he's feeling sick." When Wolfie returned, it seemed like he was a different Wolfie. To Jamie it was obvious he wasn't the same one that ran out the door. This Wolfie looked fine and a little taken back with all the attention he was getting now. "Are you all right?" said Andrew. "I'm fine, thank you," answered Wolfie, looking confused. "Are you feeling sick?" Lex Killian asked. "Sick? Why would I be feeling sick?" Wolfie asked. "Oh no," said Paula. "He's so upset that he's forgetting things now." The others laughed. Even Wolfie laughed, although he wasn't sure what he was laughing at. Outside, Ebenezer Crim stood watching the house again. The Gravedigger appeared beside him, looking just like Wolfie. It wasn't Wolfie. It wasn't Wolfie that had taken a bite out of the sausage. It was the Gravedigger pretending to be Wolfie. "I think we need to take more drastic action," said the Gravedigger in a deep, menacing voice. "They're becoming suspicious now, and I want them out of the house by tonight." Ebenezer didn't say a word. He just turned and stared back at the house, an evil grin slowly spreading across the face. It wasn't long until he was laughing out loud. Chapter 10. Unexpected Help. The lightning cracked through the window in Paula's bedroom, forcing her to pull the covers up to just below her chin. Just like the first night they arrived, there was another power outage. This time, however, everyone was too tired to play hide and seek and instead decided to go to bed early. Paula didn't want to say anything to Jamie earlier as they climbed the staircase on the way to the bed, but she had a horrible feeling that something bad was going to happen tonight. Maybe if she had said something, Jamie would have told her that he felt the same way. Now she was just counting the seconds between each bolt of lightning and roar of thunder. Paula wasn't happy in her new house, but she was still trying to make the best of it for her dad, and so was Jamie. As she turned her head to the side, with every bolt of lightning, she could see the rain running down the window pane in long, thin streams. Her eyes felt heavy, and she started to doze off. It wasn't so much a bang that woke her up, more that something had moved at the bottom of her bed. As she slowly opened her eyes, she felt it again. The bottom of Paula's bed was lifting up and dropping back down onto the carpet. As she sat up, the front of her bed started to lift higher and higher and drop faster and faster. Then, suddenly it just dropped. I know, thought Paula. It must be Wolfie or Mummy underneath my bed trying to scare me. Paula slowly crept to the bottom of her bed, on her hands and knees, and as quickly as she could, she pulled up her bed sheets and stuck her head under the bed. "Gotcha!" she yelled, expecting to see one of her ghost friends, but there was no one under her bed. Where could they have gone? She thought as she sat back up. Then she felt it again. This time the bed lifted high off the ground and dropped back onto the floor with a heavy thud. Now Paula was getting scared. If it's a ghost, why can't I see it? "Who's there?" she yelled out across her room. But there was silence. At first, Paula was so busy listening for noises that she didn't realize the front of her bed was slowly lifting again. Then it dropped straight onto the floor with a loud crash, lifted again and dropped. Paula was screaming. "Dad! Jamie! Help me!" She yelled over and over again until the door was kicked open. Instantly, the bed slammed down onto the floor. Her dad was standing in the doorway with Jamie behind him. "What's wrong, Paula?" he shouted as they raced to her bed. "There's something under my bed, Dad, and I don't know what it is. I can't see it." "There's nothing under your bed, Paula," he said to his little sister. Andrew held Paula in his arms. "You had a bad dream, Paula, that's all. Everyone has bad dreams." "This wasn't a bad dream, Dad," she said. "It was real. The bed was lifting up and dropping really fast." Her father looked into her tearful eyes and said, "It wasn't real, Paula. It just felt real, that's all." Jamie looked under the bed again. Without raising his head, he said to his father, "Dad, I really think you should come here and see this." Jamie's dad climbed down beside Jamie and peered under the bed. Jamie pointed out to the marks on Paula's carpet that the leg on the bottom of her bed had made, and there were lots of marks. Paula's bed had obviously been moved. "Paula, I don't want you to panic," said her dad, but get out of your bed slowly and stand behind me. Jamie and his dad stood up and slowly made their way to the door with Paula. It was still dark in the room and very difficult to see where they were going. Every time there was a bolt of lightning, it allowed Jamie to see the whole room light up for a split second. As Jamie turned to see his father and sister, a bolt of lightning lit up something that was floating on the other end of the room. Jamie couldn't see what it was, but he knew it was getting closer and closer. "Look out, Jamie!" yelled his father as he pushed Jamie out of the way and onto the ground. As Jamie fell, he heard a smash and his father landed on top of him. He could see he had been knocked unconscious by a vase. Paula stood in the middle of the floor screaming at the top of her lungs. All around her things were falling off the walls. Pictures, ornaments, and toys. "Jamie, help me!" she yelled. "I can't, Paula. I'm trapped. Dad's on my legs, and I can't free them," he shouted out. In the middle of the havoc, Jamie was thankful to Lex Killigan. "I'll help you, Jamie," he screamed as he tried to push Jamie's dad off his legs. Behind Jamie, Paula's bedroom door was kicked open, and in the doorway stood Ebenezer Krim with his machine strapped to him. "Leave us alone!" yelled Jamie. He looked down at Jamie and Lex Killian on the floor and then over to Paula, who was crying on the floor in the middle of the room. "No one was supposed to get hurt, Gravedigger," screamed Ebenezer over the noise. "Get out of here, Krim," roared a deep voice from the darkness as Paula's room and the bedroom door slammed closed again. Jamie could see Ebenezer Krim had his foot jammed in the door. He took off his machine, switched it on, and threw it to Jamie. "Jamie, use this," he shouted. "What do I do?" asked Jamie. "Just pick it up, flip the switch, and point it at the Gravedigger." Jamie stretched out his hand. He could barely reach the machine and had to push his father off his legs a little more before he finally managed to grab it. As he spun around with the machine, he could see two Lex Killians side by side. The one on the left shouted, "Jamie, kill the other one. I'm the real Lex." "No, Jamie," the one on the right shouted. "I'm the real Lex." Paula was still screaming in the middle of the floor. Jamie looked at one Lex and then at the other and couldn't tell them apart. "Do it, Jamie! Kill him now!" screamed the Lex on the left. Jamie spun the machine to the other one. "I don't know which one is which," he shouted to Krim. As Jamie prepared to turn on the machine, the Lex on the right tried to say something as a bolt of lightning lit up the room. Jamie saw him spit out some salt water. "It's good enough for me," he shouted as he flipped the switch and pointed it at the one on the left. sucking him inside instantly before he could try to get away. "Turn off the machine!" yelled the real Lex. Killian, who was holding on to Paula's wardrobe to stop himself from being sucked inside. Jamie turned it off and the room fell silent. Paula stopped screaming and their father began to wake up. Jamie turned to Ebenezer Krim and said something he would never thought he would ever say. "Thank you." Chapter 11. Here we go again. "That's the last of it," said Andrew as he strapped the final box to the roof of the car. Jamie and Paula were glad. Even though the Gravedigger was gone, everyone was still relieved that they didn't have to live in that house anymore. Even the ghosts were relieved. As a way of saying thank you to Ebenezer for helping save their lives, Andrew agreed to sell him their house in the graveyard. As the car rolled out of the driveway for the last time with Jamie, Andrew, and Paula inside, Jamie looked back over his shoulder to the house that was his home for such a short time. He wasn't sad. He was leaving. He just wanted to have one last look. Ebenezer Krim stood at the gate watching them leave. Even though he now owned the house he'd always wanted, he still wouldn't smile. He just stood at the gate staring at them. "So, Dad, about this new house, where exactly is it?" "It's about a 2-mile drive from here." "Can't you tell us any more than that?" Jamie asked him. "I'll tell you one thing," he said. "Your new house used to be an old church." "An old church!" yelled Jamie and Paula together. "Have you lost your mind?" asked Jamie. His father just laughed, glancing at them in the rearview mirror. He gave them that silly smile, winked, and said, "Aw, come on, kids, trust me." Jamie and Paula looked at each other in disbelief. "Oh no," said Paula. "Here we go again." The end. I hope that you guys enjoyed this book as much as I did. I hope that you tune in next video to hear another story that we're going to be starting soon. And without further ado, my dear friends, this has been Ruby, and I'll be signing off. Have a wonderful morning, noon, or night whenever this video reaches you.